Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be going through the best mythic plus charms to be aiming for all of the heroes in the game. For the Dream Realm heroes I'm going to be giving like the Dream Realm best option, and then for all the other heroes I'm going to be giving the best PvP option. Now, big thank you to Starlord who has compiled a list of the best in slot PvP charms. He thought a lot about it and I trust his opinions pretty much on all of them. And so we're going to be going through those in for the PvP heroes today. And we're on All Grey Gamer's account, so thank you to him because he has all of the heroes unlocked. And so we're going to be able to take a look at all of the charms for all of them. Okay, leading it off with Smokey. So for Smokey you want to give him skill power. And it doesn't really matter whether you give him the sorcery charm or the recovering charm. Both give you the 5 skill power. The ultimate power is only going to increase the effectiveness of his healing. It's not actually going to increase his damage, so it doesn't really matter which one you go for. You just want the skill power that will increase the power of his attack buff onto your allies. Very important for Dream Realm. Okay, moving on to the next one. Next up we have Harak, who for Dream Realm balance charms are doing the best because they are giving him the raw attack percent. And for Dream Realm, for HP per second damage dealers, the major way of increasing their damage is only by buffing their attack. Unfortunately, HP per second damage cannot land as a critical hit. So, for example, Butcher Charms are not going to be effective for Dream Realm. And yeah, so Balance Charms for the just raw attack is the best option. For PvP, though, people are speculating that the focus charms may be the best because the energy on hit and then the tanky stats, it will allow him to survive better and be able to get off his ultimate, which is pretty important. But for Dream Realm, it is balance charm, and that has pretty much been proven at this point. Okay, moving on to Ludovic. Ludovic, you want to give him the Insight Charms. These are going to give him skill power. This is going to increase his HP per second damage from his skill 1 active from a 55% attack multiplier up to 105% attack multiplier. And Ludovic still is a great option if you don't have Harak built for a couple of bosses. So, and maybe still might be the best for King Croaker. Moving on to Alsa. Alsa is a hero which overloaded charm are going to be the best for increasing her damage output. But for example, in Orson boss, you're having her being eaten by the Harak really early on, and so there's some consideration of maybe going for a charm that is going to give her attack, like for example Bloodlust, but overloaded is a safe choice for her. And either way, she is going to be eaten pretty early on if you're running her with Harak, and then her damage, her charms are not as important as other heroes, but it's she is a top tier Dream Realm hero for Orson. Okay, moving on to Reinier. Rainier's charms, you're going to want to give him, again, this doesn't matter that much because his damage output is low, and giving him skill power is not going to increase like the value of his debuff, which is what he's there for. So, but skill power and haste is going to increase his damage the most likely, so Mystic Charm, but he's not a big priority for the Mythic Plus charms. For Lily May, Sorcery Charms are the best. These are going to give her more skill power. That is going to increase the cap of her true damage, which is really important for endless Dream Realm bosses. Okay, let's carry on with the other Dream Realm heroes that we have. And I'll be talking about the meta endless Dream Realm heroes. For example, Marilee, Korin, I'll come to later on because they're not in the meta endgame teams right now. So for Phraesto, Sorcery Charms are the best charms for him. It will increase his damage slightly, but unfortunately it will not increase the cap of his HP per second damage, and so it will hardly contribute any bonus damage to Dream Realm even by giving him this. So really you just have to give him any V plus charms or just V charms just for the stats. And you can even begin focusing PvP on him if you want. And for PvP, the best option is going to be the Sturdy Charm, giving him energy on hit to cycle its ultimate more and giving him HP percent. So that is most likely the best option for PvP. Okay, Mikola. Mikola, best charms for Dream Realm are going to be skill power that will increase the attack buff she provides to your team, and attack percent to increase the damage from her combat fury. Anyway, now that we have Harak eating her really early on in the match, her attack percent hardly really matters because she doesn't get much value off from combat fury, but the skill power is essential. You need to give her skill power. And so for example, like let's say you got sorcery charm unlocked before arcane, this is still a really good option. It gives you the 5 skill power. That gives your team 5% extra attack from her attack buff, which is really important. Okay, now we have Shakir. Shakir is really important for charms, and his best charms are going to be the Mystic Charms. These are going to give him skill power. This is going to increase the attack percent buff from his Wolf's Will, which he applies to himself, and at plus 10 exclusive equipment he applies to his allies while he's in wolf form, and that is a big attack boost on the attack buff, and so that is why Mystic Charms for Shakir are going to be the best for him. Moving on to Talene. So Talene is going to want to have the Blast Charms, though that is going to increase her damage by the most. Her damage is pretty much primarily only from her ultimate. The ultimate power will boost that damage, and attack, of course, is going to increase her damage. So Talene with the Blast Charms. And those are pretty much all of the meta Dream Realm heroes. I think we've covered all of them, so now we can begin going through some PvP heroes as well. Okay, so for Vala. Vala's best charms are going to be the Reaper charms. These will provide her attack percent, raw, and execution. Execution causes enemy allies to deal 50% bonus damage when the enemy has below 50% HP ratio. It will increase the chance of Vala getting an early quick kill, which can snowball her in the fight. So Reaper charm is going to be the best for her. For Thoran, it is going to be the Bear Charm. This increases his tankiness by the most HP and Vitality. Vitality increases the effectiveness of shields or heals onto Thoran, which you're no doubt going to have on a team with Thoran, and then also HP percent. And I'm pretty sure even the Soul Pact, like, you know, HP regeneration he gets from the damage dealt by the Soul Pacted ally, that should also increase, like, this Vitality should increase that healing, I would imagine. Okay, for Korin, the best one is going to be the Insight Charms for skill power, because it gives him tanky stats, the HP percent, and the skill power is actually going to increase the crit damage boost that he gets. And because he's, like, even if you're using him in Dream Realm, he does, like, his true damage can land as a critical hit, so the crit damage boost will apply onto that. So Insight Charm is going to be considered the best for Korin. Moving on to Carolina. Carolina's best charm is going to be, yes, Arcane Charm. That gives her attack and skill power. When we take a look at her abilities, we can see the value of skill power onto her. Freezing Nova, slightly increased damage, but that is not as important as the Snowball Witchery. Increasing the damage from the snowballs is going to be pretty crazy, because these will be casted many times throughout the course of the fight. And so that is why that is important. Moving on to Marilee. So Marilee, well, I mean, the thing with Marilee is she's not really considered a PvP hero, but for Dream Realm, Overloaded Charm is going to be the best for her. Again, true damage can land as a critical hit, so the crit damage boost will increase the damage potential from her in Dream Realm, and this has been shown in previous seasons as well. So Overloaded Charm for Marilee, and even for PvP, like, I mean, if you wanted to use her there, I would still recommend continuing with the Overloaded Charms. Moving on to Koko. Koko's charms usually are always the ones which are going to give her energy on hit, so Sturdy Charm is going to be the best option. Energy on hit and tankiness from the HP percent. Moving on to Odie. Odie's best charms are going to be Gale, because he's mainly used in PvP, and even when you're talking about Dream Realm, the bonus damage he'll get from attack and attack percent is going to be more valuable than, for example, other options, and he is pretty viable for PvP on the Mauler buff tiles. And so that is why you need to run the Gale Charm for Odie. Silvina, the best charms are going to be Sorcery Charms are going to be the best option, giving her ultimate power and skill power. If we take a look at her abilities, we can see why that will be the case. So her ultimate power gets a really big boost. Like, look at this, 50% per ultimate power you gain, and 50 times 5 is up to 250%. This will turn this ultimate into an over 600% multiplier skill. Also, first strike bonus damage is going to be high, like that first hit onto the enemies, and that is like, that cannot be, for example, avoided, and it leads off the fight with a big damage burst, and this is going to be up by 125%, 5 times 25%, and then also Blade Vortex for the beginning of the fight, because Silvina is an assassin who gets the most damage output right at the beginning, first 12 seconds of the battle, and if you can ramp up this damage even further with the skill power, she is going to be stronger. So Sorcery Charm for Silvina is better than the recommended, which was Gale Charm, I believe. So we've done Phraesto and Mikola. And we did talk about alternatives, like the energy on hit charms for Phraesto are probably best for PvP. Now Lenya. Lenya charms are going to be Butcher charms, because she has a lot of crit related mechanics in her kit. And also she has, like, giving her the crit damage boost is going to take her to another level as well. 50 crit damage boost and 40 crit. Taking a look at her abilities, even from her duel, her winning resolve, she gains a crit damage boost, and each time you land a critical hit, she has follow-up kicks, increasing the damage output, and so definitely Butcher Charms is no question for Lenya. It has so much synergy. Okay, so moving on to Rowan. Rowan, best charms are going to be the wizard charm. Ultimate power is going to be needed onto him, and healing is going to be more valuable than, for example, the skill power. The reason ultimate power is important for Rowan, it causes him to boost your allies' energy by more. For example, from 320 up to 470 each time he casts his ultimate. And for like the light bearer buff tile teams, this is going to be pretty crazy. The thing is, the skill power are not going to be as valuable as just the raw healing that he can gain from the green charms, however, the wizard charms. But if you, for example, get the sorcery charms earlier, there's still a fine option. Like, just like we were talking about with Smokey before, the optimal is really considered to be the green, like these, the recovery charms. However, if you can get the sorcery charm onto Smokey, it's almost the same thing, and it's very similar for Rowan here as well. So moving on to Florabelle, Florabelle's best charms are going to be the Eagle charms, which are the thumbs up charms. These are going to give her ultimate power, which increases the health by quite a lot of Spiny, her first summon at the beginning of the battle, and HP on herself is going to make her tankier. And like, for example, you've seen my defense running Florabelle with Scarlita stall, and she does well in stall oriented teams, so giving her HP allows her to stall better, and also more HP onto her summon is just, yeah, again, more stall factor. So this actually goes from 80% up to 80 plus 75 with the 5 ultimate power, going up to 155% HP, which is a lot. That basically is tankier than any other hero in the game, and that's going to be on her summon. Okay, Talene we've already talked about. Even for PvP, Blast Charm is going to be the best. Moving on to Eironn. So for Eironn, it is again going to be the thumbs up charms, HP and haste. HP increases his tankiness, and he's a supportive type hero, so you want him to have that. And haste is going to increase the frequency of his skill casting and also increases attack speed to charge up his energy faster to cast the next ultimate. So Cheetah Charm, pretty simple for Eironn. So next up we have Arden, and Arden Mystic Charms are going to be the best for him, and it's because, so haste is going to slightly reduce the cooldowns of his abilities as well as increases attack speed slightly. However, the skill power is really the big thing here. 5 skill power does some crazy things with Arden and takes him on to another level. Now unfortunately in this season there are a lot of unaffected like mechanics, and so he doesn't get as much value, but Entangling Vines will go from a entangling 2 closest enemies from 2 seconds up to 2 plus 1.25 with the 5 skill power, so 3.25 seconds, which is huge value. And also it increases his energy recovery. So Arden recovers energy when a non-summon enemy is controlled, and it can be triggered once per enemy every 2 seconds. And he recovers 15 energy at level 4, but if you have 5 skill power, it will be 15 plus 15, which is 30 energy for each enemy that is controlled, allowing him to just cycle his ultimates that much quicker. Now, unfortunately, there are a lot of unaffected mechanisms in this season, and so Arden can't get that massive value with like Eironn, Arden, Almas, but theoretically, if the opponent doesn't have any way of making themselves unaffected, like Eironn, Almas, Arden is going to destroy people, like with the skill power from the Mystic Charm. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You have the Mauler buff tiles, you have the Vala buff tiles, you have Vala shield spell. A lot of ways to deal with that. Okay, moving on to Damian. So Damian is going to also want the wizard charms, just like Rowan does, ultimate power and healing. He is a healer, that is his main role in the team, so you want to give him the healing effectiveness. Ultimate power is really valuable. It is going to increase the tankiness of his toy chariot from 85% up to 135% with the 5 ultimate power, and that is going to be good because then it can stay on the battlefield for longer, and if it can last the whole time up until it he uses his active, or like he basically causes it to explode, that's even more value because then it blinds enemies and also deals damage. So definitely making his Toy Chariot tankier is really valuable, and that is going to be the best for him. Moving on to Hewynn. So Hewynn is going to want a similar type of charm, which is the recovering charm, like the best ones for Smokey. This gives healing and skill power. Now, the reason, again, she is a healer, and that is her job, so you need to give her healing effectiveness. Skill power is really valuable, like, not only for this healing wave, like, this is going to increase, like, this HP recovery by quite a lot, by 150% with 5 skill power, but this revitalize thing, this mechanic, well, you know, when you actually calculate it here, 4 minus 5 skill power is going to be -1 second, but I don't think that's possible. But basically, every 1 second, she's going to be healing and providing this revitalize buff. Like, look at this. Hewynn heals an ally, granting them HP if the HP ratio is below 50%. This effect can trigger once every 8 minus 1 second per ally. So at maximum level, it's 6 minus 1 skill power second per level. So if you, per ally. So for example, if you have your 5 skill power, this is going to be every 1 second, she will be able to trigger this revitalize healing onto your allies who are below 50% health. This is going to make her crazy. Like, I can't wait to try this in my Scarlita stall team. It will only trigger when the HP ratio is below 50%, but still it's crazy. And also it removes dispellable debuffs. Now it says once every 4 minus 1 skill power per ally. But the thing is, you're going to have 5 skill power here. So I don't know if this is every 0 seconds or if it will be down to 1 second. Either way, this is going to be crazy. Heywyn's charms are actually going to be pretty insane, taking her to another level. Moving on to Bryon. So Bryon is going to want just massive damage output with the Ruthless charm, which is the thumbs up charm. Crit percent, attack speed, both of these are 2 great offensive stats for PvP. And that is mainly Bryon's use right now, maybe like as a Lily May counter in your team. So next up we have Viperian. So Viperian is going to want to have the insight charms. That is going to give him the skill power. HP is good, it gives him more tankiness, and skill power is going to ramp up Viperian the most. If we take a look at him, it is going to increase the damage dealt from Soul Ravager up by 25 times. Skill power is 125%, and it will also importantly cause more energy reduction onto enemies with the active enchantment Fang. A maximum rank reduces the target energy by 100. This is going to go up to 175 with the 5 skill power. And that is really strong. So it's going to make Viperian the best if you have the skill power onto him. And I think these are these the thumbs up charms for him? Yeah, they are insight charms, but they are the best. Just like Ludovic and Viperian, both Graveborn heroes, and both want insight charms as their best options. Okay, let's move on to Sinbad. So Sinbad is going to just want attack speed and attack, which are the thumbs up gale charms. This is going to increase his damage output by the most. The advantage of attack speed onto Sinbad is more than on other heroes. If you take a look at his ultimate like passive, Sinbad's skills also deal normal attack damage, and his casting speed is affected by both his attack speed and haste. So this is different. Normally heroes like casting speed is only dependent on their haste, like the casting of their skills, but attack speed is also going to speed that up. So definitely attack speed onto Sinbad is very valuable. Moving on to Tasi. Now there is a bit of a controversy around Tasi right now. So theoretically, definitely blast charms are the best. These increase the ultimate power and also attack for her damage. This is going to increase the duration of her hypnotization with her ultimate ability. However, there is some sort of glitch going on right now, and I don't know if anyone's realized it, but with Lightbearer buff tiles, like Tasi on them, before getting these charms, she would like get 3 ultimate casts rather than just 1 shadow casting after. There would be like 2 shadows casting after. I don't know what basically, but probably that's not intended. Now, when you give her the maximum ultimate power to get this from 3.5 seconds up to 6 seconds, then her ultimate is going to be it for the 6-second hypnotization. But then for some reason, now only 1 extra shadow is casting rather than the 2. So it's actually weakening the Lightbearer version of Tasi when you give her blast charms. This is what someone has told me, and I'm sure they're credible. Like, they seem credible in what they explained to me. But either way, but for like Mauler buff tiles, when you don't have that double ultimate cast, the blast charms are going to be better. And if you're not running her, for example, with Lightbearer buff tiles, then the blast charms are going to be better. But it's just something to keep in mind, that it basically, the previous way that Tasi was doing on Lightbearer buff tiles was actually overtuned, and it's kind of like probably a bug or something, and the blast charms fix that bug, and so actually they make her a bit less effective in Lightbearer. But you can try it if you want, but it's just something you need to keep in mind before like just immediately crafting blast charms. It might be better to go for something that doesn't increase ultimate power if you're relying on her on the Lightbearer team. It is due to a bug of the original thing, but maybe that will be fixed, and then the ultimate power will just be strictly better. Moving on to Cassadee. So Cassadee is going to want the skill power boost from the Mystic Charms. The skill power into Cassadee is going to be her best value. If we take a look at her abilities here, Undercurrent is going to have a longer stun duration from 1.5 up to 2.5 seconds with the 5 skill power. Now the thing about Tidal Strength, honestly, with Cassadee, basically with the 5 skill power, she will re-bless the same ally with the Tidal Strength. rather than every 9 seconds, every 9 minus 5, which is 4 seconds. But it becomes overkill, basically, because the ally is going to have normal attacks, boosted normal attacks, which will be triggered for 9 normal attacks, right? And so, for example, if you're blessing them again after 4 seconds, they haven't even used up all of their empowered normal attacks. And so, this is kind of overkill. It doesn't really provide any value for that. Yeah. So, and then the blesses the nearest ally after the previous one is defeated, reducing the cooldown. So, I don't know how much value honestly is from the title strength getting skill power, but just the undercurrent, higher stun duration. If you're going to be using her in PvP, then that will be important. Also, people want to try testing Cassadee in Orison Dream Realm boss rather than Alsa, because then she will have a 2.5 second stun, which is enough to reduce the fury of the boss, and so maybe she'll even be more effective at reducing it than, for example, Alsa. And then maybe this bonus boosting of the ally is going to be important. So either way, overall, the charms, the skill power is going to be good for Cassadee, but title strength, it seems like it's overkill and maybe not going to be as crazy as you might think. Okay, coming to Scarlita. Scarlita charms, you're going to want to go for the offensive one, which is the one, the destructive charm. Again, just like with Vala, this is going to give execution, increasing Scarlita's damage to enemies below 50% health ratio, increasing the odds of her knocking them off the field. And ultimate power is, well, really important for Scarlita because that is her main combo, and when this is being dealt as true damage, you can knock off more enemies. Rather than 220% multiplier, it will go up to 320%. It's a big deal. And so definitely that is the way you want to go for it, which are the destructive charms onto Scarlita. Moving on to Temesia. Temesia is going to want to have the Eagle charms, which are the recommended ultimate power and HP. HP increases their tankiness, which is important for tanks. And the ultimate power is going to increase the charge damage, which is going to be converted to true damage. So even, for example, for Dream Realm, this is going to be the optimal choice, the ultimate power onto Temesia. However, is there ultimate power? If there's ultimate power in attack, for example, like the blast charm, this would be better for Dream Realm specifically. But if you want to make her well-rounded, then HP and ultimate power, Eagle charm is going to be better. Moving on to Almas, which is a really important hero for AFK stages. Almas is going to want to have the bear charms, and this is again, so this is more PvP oriented. Making him tankier is more effective in PvP. But even for AFK stages, I think probably Bear Charm is going to be better. Increasing his heal, like the effectiveness of heals and shields onto him from the vitality, and even his own shield onto himself, and HP, increasing his tankiness. The other options are not amazing, and honestly his damage output is pretty low. So for example, the only consideration would be if skill power gave him some more control effect, but it just increases the effectiveness of his shield value. Well, skill power does increase his energy recovery when he is when he is rooted. So that is one thing to consider. Like maybe giving him skill power would be a consideration, but generally for PvP the tankiness from Bear Charm would be better. So Granny is most likely going to be the sturdy charm. Yeah, it's going to give her energy on hit to cast her ultimate more frequently and HP to be tankier. For most tanks, sturdy charm or energy on hit plus a defensive stat are going to be the best. Dunlinger is a pretty important hero now with diurnal comps. You're going to want to give him the Resolute charms. Energy on hit is going to be important for him. Again, he's a tank that has a really important ultimate to cast. And ultimate power is also definitely ultimate power, no question, is the best for Dunlinger. That will increase the duration of his order. Basically, his order at the beginning of the battle will be boosted by 2.5 seconds from 12 to 14.5. And then each time he casts will be boosted by 1.25 seconds from 6 to 7.25, which is really big. Really important, giving him that ultimate power. Moving on to Luca. Luca is going to want to have again, as a tank, the ones which are going to give him energy on hit and tankiness. So this charm we saw before on Harak, the focus charm. And like I mentioned, for PvP, especially in situations where you're worried about Harak dying too quickly, or you want him to cast ultimate to begin snowballing faster, this was a pretty good option for PvP for Harak. Again, it needs to be tested, but for Luca, this is the best for him. More tankiness and energy on hit to cast his ultimate more frequently, really important. Moving on to Hodgkin. So Hodgkin, the thing is, there are no sorcery charms for him. So you can't give him ultimate power and skill power together. So it's better to just go for the arcane charm, which is the thumbs up one, attack and skill power. Now attack will increase his damage output from his abilities, and his ultimate hits pretty hard. Skill power is going to be really important because it will cause him to steal more energy from opponents from 100 up to 125, and also increase the duration of his ethereal state. That is the important thing, and also increase the HP recovery in ethereal state. So arcane charm is going to be what you want to go for Hodgkin. Moving on to Cecia. Cecia is going to want to have just the raw damage from the Gale Charm, increasing her attack power and her attack speed, but again, she's not really much of a meta hero. Moving on to Diurnal. Diurnal is going to, he's a really important hero. You're going to want to give him the charm, which is going to boost his damage as much as possible, which is ultimate power and skill power, and you're going to see why this is so crazy. So sorcery charm for Diurnal, and for PvP, if you haven't built, these are going to be high priority charms. So we already know that his ultimate that hits really hard, this is going to be boosted from 190% up, and it'll be boosted by 75% multiplier from 190 to 265% multiplier, and then last hit is 270%. This is going to make him even more threatening in PvP. Now for the skill power, this is also really strong. The penetration attack, dealing damage to all enemies along the way, is going to increase the penetration attack damage from 155% multiplier up by 15 times 5 is 75%, increasing this to 230% attack multiplier. And all of his abilities hit so hard that this is a big boost to his damage output. And then finally, Nectar Feast. Diurnal drinks the Divine Nectar to increase 20% plus 2% attack per skill power and plus 20 plus 3 attack speed for 12 seconds. This boost is going to be 10% attack boost from 25% at maximum rank. It's going to go up to 35% attack boost when he drinks, and 25 attack speed is going to go up to 40 attack speed when he drinks. This is going to be insane. Honestly, like, these charms are going to take Diurnal to another level. Already he's scary enough, right? Diurnal Dunlinger. But sorcery charms are going to, like, be crazy for him. And yeah. Okay, moving on to Prissa. Again, not really as important of a hero for PvP. However, if you do use her, Swift Charm is going to be the way you want to go, which is the recommended one. Haste is going to increase her attack speed and reduce her cooldowns of her abilities. Attack speed is going to increase her damage output. Okay, moving on to Nara. Nara, again, not so popular in PvP, however, she definitely has uses, and for her, we know that she has a kit designed around executing enemies, and so execution is going to be the way to go. Execution and ultimate power is going to be the best for Nara, increasing her damage to low HP ratio enemies. And also, the ultimate power is going to increase her potential true damage when the enemies are below 40% health. Like, it increases it by a lot. Like, if you were already not executing the opponent when they got below 40%, after giving her 5 ultimate power, she is definitely going to execute whoever she comes into contact with. And even if, for example, but the thing is, if you're using her in PvP content, you're on auto battle mode, and she will not attack them unless their HP ratio falls below 40%. So you can never get, like, the value of this, which is the non-true damage. But either way, yeah, execution and ultimate power for Nara. Moving on to Kruger. Now Kruger, it's interesting because he could potentially see some use in Dream Realm with Harak, but so far he hasn't been the best option. And Cheetah Charm is going to be the option for him, increasing his tankiness and also increasing his haste for faster skill casting. He has really high damage multipliers on his abilities, and also it will allow him to stack up shatter armor onto the enemies a little bit faster, and so yeah, giving him the haste is going to be valuable for that. Although his skills already have a really low cooldown. Moving on to Lucius. Lucius is used in Lightbearer teams. For example, I use her a lot. I use him a lot in Tasi Lightbearer teams, and it is going to be the Wizard Charm that you will want to equip to him, just like Rowan. Ultimate power and healing. Healing is actually going to increase effectiveness of his shields as well as heals, not only heals, and he has a lot of shielding, right? And his ultimate has a high shield value, and 5 ultimate power is going to increase this from 520% to 720%. So that's really good for Lucius. Moving on to Nara, or sorry, not Nara, Nero. So Nero is going to want to have the Eagle Charms. If we take a look at it here. And these are not the recommended ones. Eagle Charms are going to give him HP and ultimate power. So HP for tankiness because he's a support and he wants to survive. And ultimate power is going to increase the allies' damage in spirit form. If we read it, prioritize his weakest ally, turning them into a spirit and restoring HP. The spirit can only deal 45 plus 5% of its original damage, while losing an increasing amount of health per second. But when we look at maximum level, 65% plus 5% of the original damage, 5 times 5 skill power is 25, so 65 plus 25 takes it up to 90% of the original damage when they are in spirit form. So definitely ultimate power for Nero, no question about it. Moving on to Burial. So Burial, there is a bit of debate even by Star-Lord himself. He thinks Resolute Charms are going to be the best, and because that can give him energy on hit. Ultimate power is also really valuable for him, but Arcane Charm is also a consideration because skill power benefits him and attack, of course, increases his damage. But let's take a look at the ultimate power value as well as the skill power. So the ultimate power is that he flies beneath enemies, hiding, absorbing 15 plus 5 energy, lasting up to 5 seconds. So this is going to increase the energy absorption amount from 15 up to 40 per second, which is a big percentage increase, right? Over 100% increase of the original energy absorption. The other thing is it's going to increase the damage as well. 320 plus 30, 150% with the 5 ultimate power. And if you get him the energy on hit, he's going to be able to cast this more frequently. So definitely I think Resolute Charms probably are better, but skill power will increase damage dealt to the isolated targets with the Shadow Trick ability to a pretty high amount from 350 up to 500%, and Devil's Contract is going to increase Burial's restored HP after revival. But this is only going to be triggered if he is defeated and has to revive himself, and it will be from 60% up to 90%, although, yeah, I mean, it does seem good, but like, I mean, even the 60%, if you have some healing on your team, should be enough as well. But yeah, I can understand the Arcane Charm, but I think Resolute Charms probably are better. Moving on to Brutus, who is pretty important now with all the Mauler buff tiles in the meta. And he is going to want to have the Insight Charms. This is going to give him HP for tankiness and skill power. And skill power is pretty important for Brutus if we take a look at his abilities. So Ferocious Roar, this is going to cause a longer taunt duration from 1.5 up to 4 seconds, which is a big deal. And will protect your team for longer. And Indomitable is also really important. Look, Brutus is immune to the first fatal blow he receives. He is then immune to all damage and becomes unaffected for 5 plus 1 second. This is a big thing. Rather than being now, the thing is, I think both effects, right? Immune to all damage and becomes unaffected for 5 plus 1 second. So it should be, rather than 5 seconds of immunity, you're going to have 10 seconds. That's huge. And also unaffected, of course. I'm assuming this is applying to the immunity to damage as well. And then that is a huge, huge thing. And yeah, I'm really excited to get his charms for Supreme Arena. Okay, Reese. Again, not that much of a meta hero, but for him, you're going to want the raw damage from just crit percent and crit damage boost because he's a hard-hitting damage dealer. You just want to increase his damage output as much as possible, and Butcher Charms will do that. Valen, not really meta at all, but if you want to go for charms for him, then it was going to be Blast Charms. These are going to increase his ultimate power as well as his attack. If you take a look at his ultimate power, when you give him 5 ultimate power, this is just going to increase the damage for each of your 7 Swift Strikes, but because you're attacking them 7 times, and also each of them is going to go up from 90 to 140% with the 5 ultimate power. It's actually going to add up, like with all of these 7 strikes. Yeah, but I mean, Valen is just not really used anywhere. So yeah. Lumont. Now, Lumont is also really used in Mauler buff tile teams. He's an incredible tank. He also has crowd control in his ability. And if we take a look, it is going to be the Insight Charms, which are best for him, increasing his tankiness and increasing his skill power. Let's see what skill power is going to be granting Lumont. And I'm actually experimenting with the Lumont defense right now, Lumont Tasi defense. Okay, he gains a shield, and the shield is going to be, rather than 450%, is going to go up to 650%, 5 times the 40% from the ultimate, or from the skill power. And then also this one, Lumont, this is really important. Lumont stomps the ground, dealing damage to adjacent enemies and stunning them for rather than 1 second up to 2.25 seconds. And like I'm trying him on the Mauler buff tile, so he's teleported right into the enemy team. So when he goes for War Stomp, you're gonna get a 2.25 second stun on a 6 second cooldown at like base. Like if he has haste, it's gonna be even lower cooldown. That's gonna be pretty good. Oh, and reduces skill cooldown by 1 second for every enemy hit. This could be crazy. Like imagine how much crowd control you could get, but the opponent could be unaffected too. But that is looking good. Moving on to Leica. So Leica is using like the diagonal teams, and she is going to want to have the Mystic Charms. Because you want to just ramp up her skill effectiveness, basically. Haste is going to increase her skill casting frequency, like lower the cooldown of abilities slightly. And skill power is going to increase the buff that she provides. Increase attack speed from 40 all the way up to 65 with the 5 skill power. So the diagonal teams with the sorcery charms on diagonal, the mystic charms onto Leica, and then also the Smokey charms to increase Smokey's attack buff slightly from 20 to 25%. And the Dunlinger Bell of Order being for a longer duration. The Dunlinger diagonal teams are going to be taken onto another level. Honestly, I'm really scared about this. The attack speed is going to be crazy. And then also, Nova Fall is going to reduce the physical defense shred will last slightly longer onto the opponents, but I don't think that is as important as this ability right here, Imperium Blessing being buffed up. Okay, and of course the haste will allow her to recast that more frequently. Moving on to Seth, who is pretty important this meta, or this season as well, with the Mauler buff tiles. Seth is going to want to maximize his damage, and that is going to be through not these charms, it's going to be through the arcane charms. Attack and skill power. So if we take a look at his skills to see why this is going to be the best option, increasing his damage multiplier here by up to 75%, 5 times 15. And then also, most importantly, the Hunter Instinct. He is going to be gaining bonus haste and bonus life drain each time that he gets a stack of Bloodlust when the HP of a non-summon enemy falls below 33%, up to 3 stacks. And so the boost is going to be, rather than a boost of haste of 12, for each stack, he's going to get a boost of 5 times 1.5 is 7.5, a boost of 19.5 haste, and a life drain boost of 15 permanently with each stack of Bloodlust. And when you get 3 stacks, these things really add up. This is going to, yeah, it's going to give him a lot of haste and a lot of life drain, increasing his solo potential at the end. Moving on to Igor. Igor is not really much in the meta, especially because Greyborn tiles are not too strong, but if you want the best choice for him, it's going to be the Titanic Charms, which give him attack percent and crit percent. When we take a look, like that's just going to increase the damage from all of his abilities, and he does have decent damage output, so that is going to be the best for him. Moving on to Salazar. Again, Salazar is very out of the meta, not really a used option by anyone, but if you want to go for one, it is going to be the Mystic Charms. These are going to give him haste and skill power. Now, this is the thing. Skill power is actually going to be pretty insane for Salazar if you take a look at the abilities. So this is just a damage multiplier, which is fine, but this one, Spirit Shackles. Salazar imprisons an enemy whose HP ratio is less than 70%, dealing damage and making them unable to move or act for 5 seconds, but it goes up to 12.5 seconds when you have the 5 skill power. And the skill can only be applied to each enemy once. So when they get below 70% health, they're basically immobilized for 12.5 seconds unless they have some way of dispelling that, right? Now again, there are unaffected tiles and things like that, so I don't think like this is going to make Salazar meta, but it's just interesting to see this skill power boost that Salazar is going to be getting. Moving on to Entendre. Entendre is going to want to have the Insight Charms. If we take a look at it over here, this is going to give her HP for tankiness and skill power. And when we take a look at the skill power, how it will be benefiting her, the shield formation is going to increase the shield value of the guarded ally by quite a lot, from 25% at the maximum level up to another 25%, so up to 50% of the guarded ally's max HP. And she can also be using like those Lumont, Tasi, Mauler teams in order to buy time and allow Tasi to solo opponents. So Entendre is actually pretty good in this meta with the Mauler buff tiles. Also, it will be a longer attack reduction. Targets attack by 20% in a 1-tile arc. And it will last from 6 seconds up to 11 seconds. But I don't think that is as important. It's mainly for the shield formation, in my opinion. So Atalanta is not really used. However, if you want an option, it's going to be the damage boosting option, which is Butcher Charm, increasing her crit and increasing her crit damage boost. Moving on to Satrana, who also, like, I mean, with the Mauler buff tiles, she's the one which has been also seeing the least use, in my opinion. I hardly see her, but maybe people can make use of her. So she's going to want to have the Sturdy Charms, giving her the tankiness and energy on hit. Because she's a melee hero, she needs to survive for longer, and energy on hit will allow her to recast her ultimate more frequently. And her ultimate has that damage to surrounding enemies within 2 tiles, and she is invincible during the effect. That's the most important thing, to keep cycling her invincibility. Moving on to Faye, again, not really a meta hero at all, but she will want the recovering charms to increase the effectiveness of her shielding and healing, and skill power is going to increase the effect of her abilities. If we take a look at them over here, healing gemstones will increase the HP recovery duration from healing this ability, and blinding light will increase the damage dealt and the HP restored. But it's pretty basic, and honestly, Faye is just not a great option for PvP.
Don't worry.
Muriel is going to want to have the acute charms. These are going to be giving her this is the thumbs up charm, attack and haste for maximum damage output. It is interesting. I would consider maybe, let's take a look at her abilities, but attack and haste. Haste will increase, like, lower the cooldowns of her abilities and increase her attack speed slightly, and attack percent will increase the damage from all sources. A lot of her kit revolves around her ultimate, so I would be thinking maybe ultimate would be good. However, the thing is, like, already her ultimate has an insane multiplier, and so for example, if you give her sorcery charms, it won't give her any boosted attack percent, and it will only boost this from 640 up to 940%. And then Bone Seer, for example, damage per second, it is not boosting the skill damage by as much. I think our base multipliers are really high, so the skill power on top of that are not going to be increasing it as much as, for example, just giving her attack and haste to cycle the cooldowns more quickly. And Thoran, of course, Star-Lord's one of Star-Lord's favorite heroes, and it is going to be the skill power for him, and it is going to be the Arcane Charm. So he's actually a hard-hitting damage dealer, so the attack is really valuable for him, and the skill power is going to be insane for Thoran. And already Thoran was pretty good on molded buff tiles in this meta of Supreme Arena. So it's not like he's like a Salazar or anything. He was already really good before this, but the skill power will take him to another level. So this is just a basic damage boost, which is not a big deal, honestly. Like, already his damage multipliers are amazing. You're doing it for the deflecting swing. Thoran reduces damage taken from a single attack that exceeds 10% of his maximum health by 70%. Basically, turning damage that is over a 10% burst of his HP, it will basically make it almost nothing. And he will reset the cooldown of Repel Sweep whenever this effect triggers, and Repel Sweep deals this pretty high damage and has a knockback. And this effect can be triggered once every 7 seconds with skill power, or once every 6 seconds with maximum level, with 5 skill powers once every 1 second. So basically, every time he's hit, like even like diagonal arrows, if they nuke him for over 10%, it triggers Deflecting String, gives him another cast of Repel Sweep, and then the cooldown is going to end because it's only going to be a 1 second cooldown. The next arrow of diagonal hitting him, boom, he's gonna again activate this effect, reducing the damage dealt to himself and also re-triggering Repel Sweep. So he's gonna be able to cycle this like crazy. So on a 1 second cooldown with the 5 skill power. Thoran is going to be crazy this season with these skill power. And then we have Walker. Walker, not used that much other than by my guildmate Wooster, who did use him for a long time, but now I think he's not even using him anymore. Insight Charms are going to be the way to go for him for tankiness, because he is a melee hero, and skill power. The skill power is going to be boosting his damage from the bullets by a minor amount, and importantly, it will increase the crit boost amount. So like whenever you can increase like your stat boost amount with your skill power, that's usually more value, and that is what's going to happen. And also reducing his damage taken by 18. This is pretty big. 25% boosted, 25 plus 18, that is going to take him up to 43%. From 18% to 43% damage reduction is a really big deal. Okay, and then finally we have Khafra. So Khafra, again, not a meta hero at all, not really used by anyone. But you're going to want to give him the Insight Charms. He's a melee hero. You want to give him the tankiness, and you want to give him the 5 skill power. So the skill power will increase the stun duration of Khafra from 1.5 to 4 seconds, which is a pretty decent boost. And then Forest Wrath is going to increase the HP recovery amount from 100 up to 175% HP every 0.3 seconds for allies within 2 tiles. But that pretty basic. And again, Kaffir still will not be good pretty much anywhere. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it, covering all of the heroes in the game, all of their best in slot charms, most likely. Again, this is like a bit from speculation, but it is a lot of like work that went into it from Star-Lord coming up with this list. And I do believe, like looking through it, when we evaluated all of the charms, they do seem to be the best options. And for Dream Realm, we already mentioned which are the most important ones to go for. And in my opinion, go for your Dream Realm charms first. That is going to be the most important for you so that you can rank high in Dream Realm. And then gradually over time, the PvP heroes that you have on Supreme Arena defense, for example, build up their charms. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That is going to be it for this one. And hopefully it was like concise and quick, and you can come back to this to refer back to whichever charms that you're thinking about crafting next. But thanks for watching the video, guys. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.